together. Because I said it's supposed to be the same all the time, so he's just on the phone.
Oh, for who? Because we've had that issue before.
They have to.
Where's that?
There she is.
Oh, that's marketplace.
Tom says he's got an invalid password for that. So he's just on my phone right now, but so you might want to keep trying that. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Joining us, planning commission and city council, a roll call. We're gonna start with roll call down here. Ms. Finance officer.
Michelle Simmons. Rebecca Wolf.
Brendan Tiedemann. Travis Hurd, Ward 1.
Tracy Peterson there.
Christopher Guerrero, Planning and Zoning. Doug Burns, Planning and Zoning.
Carrie South Ward 2.
Aaron Center, Ward 1.
And planning and zoning.
And Planning.
And planning and zoning. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next is approval of the agenda. I need a motion to omit 4B. This doesn't require public hearing, just the first reading.
Make a motion to omit 4BI,
4B.
4B1,
Oh,
OB1.
B1. Okay, and do I have a second?
For a second.
Oh, Brendan, second that, okay. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, and then I need approval of the full and that's all I need, right? It's just that. Okay, so new business, and I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Dreyer for.
All right, so first thing we're gonna go over is ordinance 288. That's the ordinance for medical marijuana establishments. As you can see in your handout, what this is doing is South Dakota Municipal League has made many recommendations to municipalities. State law states that every city has to have at least one license available for dispensaries if and when that time comes to each city. Based upon what other cities are doing, one recommendation I know Sioux Falls did is not within 1,000 feet of school property. Churches, daycares, different rules that way. You can do a variance of down to 500 feet if that's available as well. Baltic is very landlocked. I've got a very crude and rudimentally 1,000 meters or 1,000 feet circle that I made on our map here. I know it's very crude, it's colorful. When I put this on the map here at any spot, right now there really is no property. There is no commercial property, but we still have to have it on the book saying if someone wants to come to town, maybe decide to build someplace new, annex something in and say, hey, we want to put a dispensary here. We have to have it on the books per state law. So that's all this is doing right now, just adding it. We can make amendments to this later on. If and when someone does say, hey, I want to bring a dispensary to town, and we can change the rules going from there. But we have to have something on the books right now to pass by state law. So that's what this is right now. See, there's many different amendments, Article 1, Article 8, more or less puts it in where it's going to be, the definitions, what chapters will be in our planning and zoning books. For discussion, the city of Baltic shall allow up to blank cannabis dispensaries and provide the time, place, and manner of said dispensaries that complies with this ordinance. I guess at this time it would be my recommendation to have the minimal. We have to have one. Again, if all of a sudden we become a hotbed and people want to start having marijuana up here, then we can start messing with that when the time comes. Any discussion or thoughts on that? Any questions? Sir.
Zach Epic, 413 Grand Avenue. I know that we have listed 1,000 here, you said it could be amended later. That distance seems appropriate for a city like Sioux Falls that has a lot more preschool area. As you said, there's nothing there right now. A lot of commercial areas we do have available are obviously closer to the school than that. I would propose or suggest that we reduce it to 500 feet. I think in a town that size, that makes sense to actually have some reasonable area, some wood.
Yeah,
I think reduce the size of this town. Reduce.
Can I add something, Chris?
absolutely, sir, go ahead, this is Tom.
The ordinance is drafted, does not have any restriction besides the 1,000 feet from the school.
Okay.
The second restriction would be, you would not have two cannabis facilities located within 500 feet of one another.
Yep, I see that.
And for purposes of cannabis facilities, there are 4 different types under the statutes. There are dispensaries, there are testing facilities, production manufacturing facilities, and cultivation facilities. And the ordinance is drafted allows a business or commercial district a dispensary as a permitted use, and in light industrial and heavy industrial, the other 3 types of facilities as permitted uses.
Okay,
The draft that you have does not have a limitation on licenses built into the zoning ordinance. You can do that as part of your recommendation to the city council. They can do as they wish with that.
okay,
But it is necessary to make sure that your zoning regulations are amended to reflect some change so that there is the ability to establish a marijuana facility within the community. This, as drafted, could also apply to recreational if the Supreme Court determines that that is constitutional. So, those issues that you want to keep in the back of your mind as you make your recommendations.
okay, one question I have, Tom, is, Sioux Falls, I know, did their licensing, I think it was $100,000 per license, and then if they didn't, it was 100,000, 5,000, and 2,500. My question and concern would be if we don't put something like that in there where we would potentially be the hotbed of, if it's 100,000 in Sioux Falls and 12 miles away, it's 5,000. Are we going to, I'm not trying to discourage any business by any means at all, but we don't want to be a cannabis farm either. I guess, what do you recommend
Your
for that?
limitation would be if you limit the number of dispensaries,
Okay,
which I mean, just for example, I do work in Beersford and Hartford. Beersford's limited to 2, that's a town of about 2,300.
Okay.
Hartford's 4,000 to 5,000, they limited it to 3.
Okay.
The state law says you cannot put a prohibition against the dispensary.
correct.
So, it's certainly up to the recommendation of the planning and zoning to, if they want to put a limitation on the number of establishments, they can sure do that, or dispensaries, they can sure do that. And again, they're gonna have to comply with all of the, not only zoning regulations, but the state permitting as well, which will be heavily regulated. The state's close to finalizing all of the regulations. I think they approved all of about 5 or 6 of their 106 pages of regulations.
Yeah, I saw that today.
So the time is drawing near, so.
Okay,
But the way to control that, you don't want to have an unlimited number, is by putting a number in for the number of licenses. Here are the restrictions. I mean, if you look at what is currently zoned, for commercial and general business, you're not gonna have much of that within 1,000 feet, outside of 1,000 feet radius from the school, but
correct. And that was one thing I was just discussing with Tracy. Our map here is exceptionally old, 2010. And one thing that I noticed on here, there's a lot of school property that isn't identified. So I will get with Mr. Siddig and see if we can get their property updated on this map as well. That way we've got a defined line. Because I would hate to have someone come in and say, hey, we want to put a business in, and then turns out the school owns property, 800 feet away from there. So I want to make sure we get that updated in our map as well.
it's not clear that it's probably gonna be an existing structure.
Okay,
Not just school property.
okay,
So, I mean, campus.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all part of that, where school activities are taking place as well, but if they own some fair land for whatever reason down in the future,
Well, I was thinking like the old school gym, I know they hold games up there, the bus garage, which is, across the street. But again, that's their structure, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess,
Structure, it's the same structure right now.
so, food for thought and for conversation.
well, the question is whether it's a school, doesn't say school property, it says from school.
From school, yeah.
I
I guess that's a loophole.
That's, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Any questions on, I mean, I know.
The other thing you wanna keep in mind, the planning and zoning is separate from the licensing, so the P and Z committee will only make a recommendation with respect to zoning ordinance. And then the council can do a first reading on that tonight, and, also a first reading of the licensing ordinance, which we can discuss during the council discussion of these.
Okay, so the first one we're doing at 288 is the zoning ordinance for the medical marijuana, which is planning and zoning. And then the ordinance 289 is the policies and procedures for licensing medical marijuana, which is the council.
Correct.
But
The
it's,
council actually have to adopt both. Fair.
okay,
But there's only, the zoning one does require a recommendation from, planning and zoning.
okay, so, okay,
So that one is a two-step process, three steps, recommendation, first and second reading. The licensing ordinance is just a first and second reading by the council.
okay, and we're in first readings on all of this, correct? Just to make sure I'm understanding that, right? Okay. Okay, so
So based on further recommendations from Tom, based on other city sizes and where they're at, I know Doug mentioned maybe 2 licenses, thoughts, discussions.
Yeah, I can just tell you what the discussion's been in other communities has been. They're taking a cautious approach to say, let's keep the limitation, but they don't want to necessarily create artificial value in a license either.
Correct.
Okay.
That's been an ongoing debate in Sioux Falls about liquor licenses for years, that they're based on population, and it's costly to buy one, and all of a sudden you got a valuable asset, it's nothing more than a license to do business, so that's been the discussion. And the other thing is the other cities I mentioned both did increase the initial licensing fee.
Okay.
Beresford to 25,000 and Hartford to 10. And that's again a council action, but while we're having the discussion, that's fair to at least throw those out there for consideration.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I may answer any questions if you have technical questions on either of the ordinances that you get to them. So.
Okay, sounds good.
Deb Paulson, 416 Lovely. Chris, I'm in 1,000% agreement with you. We live way too close to Sioux Falls for us to be a bargain spot for us to put this kind of a business in place. I would hope that our P and Z people are going to keep that number at 1, and they're going to, while being in compliance with South Dakota law, they're going to make that fee enough that it's going to be a deterrent rather than bringing a bunch of people out. To your point about having available spots and spaces in our existing areas, I know the council has been doing some talking about annexing, and that may be where you're going to find the spot for the inevitable one marijuana place. But please do not put us back into the news by us having 6 of them in our small town.
Understand.
1 should be sufficient to meet the needs of this community. My opinion.
Thank you.
This is just, I guess, a general question, do the counties have their own marijuana laws too? Because let's say, somebody can just go and make one right outside us, or Baltic city limits, and what is there?
That's a very good question, Tom. Has that been addressed?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what the question was.
If there's anything that has to do with the county licensing, so say hypothetically, we've got our boundaries drawn, and somewhere between here and the interstate, someone wants to go put in a marijuana dispensary, and that falls with a county is there a law for that?
It would be up to the county zoning regulations and licensing regulations.
Okay,
And I don't know what Minnehaha County has done. I think it's very restricted.
okay, it's a good question, I'll look into that.
Yep, we can look into that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a good question.
For that sense, I'm selfish, I'd rather take this up, bring the tax.
The tax
revenue
revenue here
to town
instead of giving it to
half a
them.
mile out of it.
Because when you think and consider the 1,000 feet from the actual school, that's pretty far out. And we're talking pretty much something that doesn't even exist.
We can apply for variance too.
Yes, they can apply for
We can do a
variance.
variance of 500 feet,
Oh,
that's up to us to say, hey, this is in the best interest of the community and what we want to do.
You can't do a variance though, Chris. That state statute requires 1,000 feet.
No, Kim. Oh,
There's not an exception to that.
No,
okay, I misread this, so yes, I apologize. No, okay. Cannabis dispensary shall be located not less than 1,000 feet from a public, private school existing before the date of the cannabis application. Prescribed setbacks, private schools existing for the cannabis dispensary application are measured from the lot line of the property where the dispensary is proposed. Oh, so that kind of answers our question as well too. Maybe we go 1,000 feet from each corner of the lot line, as long as they're not within school property or school building. Then that would be fine. Okay, so yes, there is no variance, it is not 1,500.
So it's 1,000 no matter what.
It is
So
1,000.
I think that covers.
I'm sorry, were you gonna look into what we're measuring to, so it's from the lot line of the dispensary, but
The one-
to the building of the school.
yeah, to the building of the school, but what counts as a school building, what counts as?
Yeah, we're gonna.
We'll have to look at it. Yes, yes,
Because
there's,
that is a good
that's a
question.
very good point, because I would look at it as the lot line saying, hey, this is school property, so.
I would too, because kids are outside playing on the playground, there's football
Correct.
games, there's all those things, and it's not necessarily in a building.
So,
So I wouldn't know the answer to that question. either.
Well, I think there'd be the school property, but what I'm saying is a bus barn on a separate lot is not a school.
The only place I think with Baltic would be the old school
Old.
The
gym.
old school gym.
Would be our only
Yeah,
thing that would be
pieces,
for
right?
consideration, yeah. And the bus barn is in between the
Because
two,
it's a
so really I
junior,
think we're.
that's not a school.
True.
Please stand up to the podium.
Okay, Ruth Green, 105 Fifth Street. I do have a concern with this. We have 2 daycares that have a lot of children in there. I think that should be taken into consideration with location also of dispensaries.
So that,
Yeah, they both fall from that 1,000
They,
feet.
yeah, they
That
both
way-
fall in the.
They fall under the school as well.
but for clarification, so when it first came out, it said churches, schools, daycares, etc. Now, Tom, keep me honest here, when they rechanged it, they changed it to just school, correct?
That's what was passed in
So the state changed it, so we would have to get
No,
clarification.
that's actually the statute that was part of the, initiated law.
Okay.
The 500 feet became an issue because that's what Sioux Falls did, and I think that got some confusion in a lot of places. Sioux Falls put some stricter requirements with daycares, churches, playgrounds, parks. And then they limited to 5 licensed facilities. So I mean, they pared it down as far as someone could locate.
And And to address your concern, I also thought of the 2 daycares as well as we have numerous in-home daycares. So my question to the city was, do we have a list of licensed in-home daycares in the city? Again, just random information saying, hey, is that something that's enforceable? So again, there's gonna be a lot more discussion here and I appreciate the discussion that we have. But we've got a lot of questions that we'll get answered as well.
No, I did not catch your name.
Ruth Green. Ruth Green.
Ruth Green, okay. Okay, so
So back to the city of Baltic shall allow up to blank dispensaries. What would be the recommendation?
I guess, I thought about 2, but I mean, the size of our town, I would say 1, plus we still have the option to change that at some point, right?
Right.
I mean,
I would, in my opinion, I would say one, because like he said, Beersford has 4,000 to 5,000 people and they have 2.
Right.
We're not that big yet, we're not to 2,000 people yet.
Yeah.
So I say we stick with 1 in the option that we could essentially move to 2 if we really need.
I guess where I was going,
You can increase the number of licenses, decreasing it would be difficult.
Okay.
Perfect.
Increasing is easier, decreasing is not so easy. So if we start with one, we can always go with two and three.
Can't take an establishment away. it's
You
already-
can't take establishment, you can't take a license away that we already have.
And I was looking more on back on the day with the liquor license, you know, they were going by population.
Sure.
This is.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say that we start at one, and I just, to discussion, I would up the price, so I would do 25,000.
We go to 25K. I mean,
Any other discussion?
What did Hartford and?
Harvard went to 10K, Beersford went to 25K,
And Sioux Falls is at 100.
and Sioux Falls is at 100.
And I would be willing to bet, I would believe Hartford will bump it, so.
One
Who's
thing,
going to oversee and enforce?
Podium.
Well,
Podium. That's another question for us. Does that fall under your statutes of who enforces it? Because it would be an ordinance.
It's an ordinance plus Simmons also under the planning and zoning skirt rules and action.
Plus, there's a number of requirements in the licensing ordinance that the operator needs to meet on an annual basis.
Okay.
And then does the health department regulate as well? Pretty heavy?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's
They'll be
several.
inspecting the facilities,
So, yeah.
they will make sure, I mean, they're gonna have very strict requirements on the quantities that come into the facility and that leave the facility. So it's gonna be highly regulated at the state level.
And even-
Whatever you.
Another thing to think about that's in here as well is, we also regulate hours of operation. So yeah, so it's not gonna be like, you're not gonna have, you shouldn't have 10 o'clock, drug deals going on in the corner of the parking lot somewhere. You shouldn't, but medical deals.
Medical use.
But
Right.
so, again, there's a lot of questions, there's a lot of concerns, and just be aware that we share the same concerns, so.
Well, the reason I asked is you're looking at putting this in place, so we should have the oversight determined before we really get into any of this, because I'm sure no one wants to have a violent felon moving in next door. But who's
I
gonna,
highly doubt that they'll get that license if they're.
but that's,
violent felon, but-
that's what I'm saying.
they legally can't personally.
Who will be looking at the records? Who will be
The state will.
the
The
state?
The state will,
Yes.
yes, the
So
state.
then they bring something to P and Z from the state that
You
says
would-
they need
yes, you
all
would
of
get
this?
something.
Yep.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Good question, thank you.
The process will be that they would apply for a license locally, but they could not, because they need to be approved at the local level before they can go to get their state certification. One of the requirements under the state statutes are that you provide a bunch of information to the state, including the fact that the local governing body has issued the license. The license is subject to state certification. The fee ordinance and the licensing ordinance says that if you pay your license fee to the city or denied certification from the state, you get a refund, and I think we've got in there half of the application fee.
Yes,
Right.
that is in there.
Yep, I did see that.
Yes.
Yep.
The process will be, again, the city would have the first approval, the nature of the facility, the construction, all the rules and how it operates are established by the state, and they will have to certify all that to the state.
Excellent.
My other suggestion would be to, I mean, I'm not for nor against all this, I guess, but in my mind, raising the price to 25,000, and if they get denied at a state level, I honestly don't think we should reverse, non-reverse. I mean,
Well,
this
it's
isn't.
half.
Right,
Do
but
it
this
to
isn't-
25K, that's
But
half is
this is-
12.5.
This is from the Southwood Department of Health.
Health,
So
yeah,
this
that's
could
not
be, it's not
necessarily
like, the sheriff.
So they're-
background
right.
check, and, everything comes back clean, but then they go to the Southwood Department of Health, they come out, they look at their bills, and they're like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work. Not necessarily a fault of theirs, but,
I would just assume that if you're gonna go through all this, that you're gonna make sure everything is done and.
Which is why the 25K is a really good idea, because that's a serious amount of money
Yeah.
versus 5,000.
Yeah.
Serious amount of money you're dropping to have
And
this
to the
license.
community, that's, I mean, on the community thoughts of, okay, how can we do this and stay legal and this and that, but yet not turn into Pot City here. I mean,
But yeah,
these things are that way of doing.
looking at that end though, as a city and drawing more people and more business to our community, somebody's gonna say, oh, well, Baltics is 25,000, Hartford's is 10,000, I'm gonna go to Hartford area then. So we could be deterring people too.
Oh, you
So
only get
just-
two, they only have two going.
Yeah, they only have two go ahead anyway.
No, you get 15 dispensaries going to Hartford, because
Well, yeah, there's only two there, but what other cities are at 10,000, what other cities are at 5,000,
They'll
what
start
other,
as slow
you
as
know,
one to go.
yeah, that's what I'm kind of going is,
Hartford's going with 3, not 2.
3 licenses.
Hartford's going with 3,
Here's for.
Cheersford's going with 2.
Yeah.
I think in the best interest of our citizens, I think keeping the 20, this is my opinion, I think keeping it at the 25K is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because we are so heavy with daycares, schools and all of those things, and we aren't so spread out as some of these other big cities are, that can afford the $10,000 for 3 of them. I don't even know where we put 1, let alone 3.
Right.
So that's why I think the 25K is a. Yes, Mr. Nevin.
yeah. So the 25K, I'm fine with more than 5,000, that seems really low. It feels like we're just trying to put in a cost barrier to let anyone in. I mean, there's only one license to go around. 25K, I imagine what you're gonna get is one of the places in Sioux Falls that has the money to chain in and expand outside, right? 25K just seems exceptionally high for,
It's a fourth of what Sioux Falls is charging.
but it's.
Is that a bad thing though, that if there's a chain or whatever that's in Sioux Falls branches out here, is that a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think that you're just, I mean, it seems like kind of an arbitrary barrier. If one's coming here either way. What are we gonna do with the extra money?
I think,
What's that going to?
I think the quality of people or of business, is what you're gonna get with the $25,000. I think I could throw down $10,000 and start my own and be just a single guy, but there's whatever, I gotta,
Pop shop.
Yeah.
You're that little guy who's just.
but I rather have a business come from Sioux Falls that's established, that knows the rules, that knows the regulations, knows how to follow everything and say, okay, yeah, it sucks, it's 25,000, but yeah, it's cheaper than building another one in Sioux Falls. And they come up here and then they know what they're doing. In theory, we shouldn't have a lot of issues with it. And that's where another reason why I want to stay with 25 versus, less money. I don't really want to see a mom and pop shop here. I want to see an established business.
Professional staff.
Yeah.
In Sioux Falls, we said there are
For your-
100K and what else, what were the other 2 prices, and what those mean?
2,500 or something, or
I don't have that off the top of my head.
I think it's falls to 100K for the first year, and then there's a biennial renewal.
Was that the,
That's the 25.
okay,
2,500?
Every 2 years, but it's
25,000.
like 50 for the renewal that first 2 years.
It's 25,000 per year renewal, or they can do a 2-year renewal for 50.
It is a 2-year renewal.
It's a 2-year, it's a required 2-year.
By how they track their work. The other thing is, in the license, the one that's looking into that, you can't just park a license, you gotta operate the business. It's for a year, working, so.
anyone
Right.
watch the news, that's a big thing in Sioux Falls right now.
It's gotta be a set.
Do you have any recommendations based on the cities you've gone to and how their decision was made?
Well, they had quite a few different discussions, and one of the chief of police said, doesn't matter what you set the fee at, he said marijuana will be significantly cheaper on the streets than it will be in any of the dispensaries, because the amount of money involved in the regulatory scheme is gonna drive the cost higher than what it is on the street right now. Now, that was just unofficial view of things, that doesn't really make a difference what the fee is, he felt. Those that wanna or to be intoxicated or high, are gonna get a lot cheaper than they get it right now.
And
There could be links. I mean,
And to his point, I mean, if that sounds like a big, oh my gosh, drugs on the street, this is 2021. We got a law enforcement member here, he can tell us there are drugs in every town, whether we like it or not. we got city employees that are here that have pulled needles out of the strainers down at the lagoons. There are drugs here in town, so the idea or thought that this is bringing drugs to town, yeah, I get it to a certain extent, I agree.
This is the legal way of having pot in town.
Yes, ma'am.
Deborah, like I said, 281 Circle. I worked 8 years at the Empire Mall. I worked with all sorts of different sizes of businesses. And I worked with the mom and pop shops, and I worked with the chains and all that type of stuff, and all sorts of different type of uses. And I absolutely agree with what Aaron said about if it's a legitimate, they're taking the business seriously, they have the cash, they have the capital to invest. And I also lived in Billings, Montana, when medical marijuana became legal. And so I sat and watched Billings, Montana grapple with the exact same issues that we're dealing with right now. And what I will tell you, if you don't highly regulate this, and keep it, you will get people that are like, well, I'll just sell my house and I'll just do this and I'll go like that and live in the back of the store. And then another thing to consider is they might get their drugs in the streets. But what you're really regulating is the medical marijuana side. These stores are really gonna specialize in the medical marijuana side. And for the safety of our citizens and for the safety of the people that really want to take advantage of this, you need those legitimate businesses that actually are not mixing it in the garage. They actually have legitimate operations that are sanctioned, that are certified, that are scalable and legit. So 25,000, I think, is minimal. And I think you guys are absolutely on the right track, but just, keep thinking it through.
Because that's what,
Good job.
or that's what Planter is, medical.
Right.
Yeah, and it's that busy, so.
Nerve.
I see your point, I also see Zach's point as well, so,
No,
I have.
I literally just drove up there because my son played football, and there was 20, 30 cars in there. I probably thought,
25,000 is not gonna be a deterrent for someone who wants to get into this business
Yeah.
at all, because they're gonna see the income, the money that my friends were making in Billings, Montana was insane, and they had no idea. what they were doing. And so if you find somebody that knows what they're doing, because we're dealing with the people that legitimately want this medical marijuana, we need to make sure we're getting them the best quality stuff we can in Baltic, so we're not known as a hack shop. That's right. That's
And this is the first reading.
The other thing to keep in mind that medical marijuana can take a precedent over someone that came in with the recreational subcategory. The medical marijuana customer, they're gonna be in front of anybody else in line that's coming there for whatever other reason they would want medical marijuana.
but currently it's only medical marijuana. So
Right.
That's all
that's all it's authorized to sell.
These ordinances do not limit it to medical marijuana.
Right,
Keep that in mind, it's cannabis dispensaries, which if the Supreme Court determines that the constitutional amendment was properly drafted, that could mean that these facilities, look at all like that they're gonna offer both.
okay,
I mean, if you've got a licensed facility, they're gonna come in and say, well, now I can sell both. Certainly, they're gonna say, I'm gonna limit my business to medical, but they have an opportunity to expand to recreational.
okay.
And that was some of the other discussion about setting a fee at a much higher level than 5,000 was that, if it does become recreational as authorized, there's certainly a greater potential for profit for business operator.
And then at that time, we can draft out an amendment and change the price too. If we add another license or whatever.
Yeah, if we get 6 requests all of a sudden, we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So certainly,
To Tom's point that he made earlier, it's easier to loosen things up than to try and tighten things up.
Right.
So
all right, so circling back here, for the planning and zoning here, if my peers were not deceiving, the recommendation would be for 1 cannabis dispensary.
Yes.
And then increasing the, let's see, fine, that's not right. License.
The license fee is
to
25.
25,000, and
And
then,
then if they get declined, it's half of
It's half
that,
of
which is 12,500.
is that, yes, is that the,
Yep, I'm good with that, excellent.
and the renewal fee,
Planning and zoning does not, planning and zoning does not have to make a recommendation formally on the licensing. I think it's clearly heard by the council what your thoughts are,
yes, sir.
but the recommendation for the zoning ordinance is only going to deal with the number of dispensaries.
Gotcha, first page, gotcha. So right now, zoning ordinance 288 would be for, the recommendation to city council would be for one cannabis dispensary. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion, I make a motion for one license.
I'll second.
You, not me.
Yes. Hold on, I'm writing, I can't multitask. Oh. Yelling in the hole. All right, we got a motion properly made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
That was just P and Z, right?
That's
Yeah,
just
so
me and
easy.
Z.
Travis said that.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't hear you. All opposed, same sign? And it passes.
Do you want to? Sure.
And then, make a motion to adjourn the plan and zone.
Second. Oh, sorry, I make a motion.
Also.
Turn P and Z here.
Thank you. And P and Z is adjourned. Thank you very
All
much.
right. So, we're going to first and second for continuing the meeting as city council.
I make a motion to continue as the city council.
Okay, great. That's what I wanted to know. Okay, first things first, we need to do approval of minutes. First and a second for the minutes of 8:10, the regular session that we did.
I will make a motion.
So first is Travis Shears, second is Brendan Tiedemann. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is the 8:26, the planning session that we did. I need a first and a second to approve those minutes.
I will make a motion.
Travis Shears, second Aaron Center.
Yep.
All in favor, say aye. And the special session of 8:30,
Make a motion.
I'll second.
first by Travis Shears, second by Carrie Selves. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the 9/7 special session we just did, I need a first. Who's that, Brendan? Brendan Tiedemann is the first, and who's the second?
Wait a second.
It's Carrie Selves. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right, approval of claims payable, were they all good there,
They
sir?
are good.
All right, Travis says they're good, I need a first and a second.
I make a motion.
Aaron, and a second. Brendan Tiedemann, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Visitors to be heard. That's so weird. Okay. First.
Deb Paulson, 416 Lovely. For future meetings, can we have the claims payable included in the package so we can see what's being approved since we're not seeing it posted anywhere?
I don't, correct me if I'm wrong. Oh, they're in the minute.
They will be. We're working through that with new finance officers, some of the things that we're trying to clean up. But that will happen because it used to always happen. Correct? Yep. All right. Anybody else?
Is there Bob Jules in here, by any chance? Is there a Bob Jules in here? Okay. There was a gentleman who was gonna come and speak.
Yeah.
Building inspector, building official, there was a gentleman named Bob Jules who was gonna come here and talk about 110 Moorfield, evidently. He decided not to, so. Just giving him a chance to speak if he wanted to.
He the property owner?
He is realtor.
And
Anyone
that's-
else?
And just so we're clear, 110, that's,
That's that yellow,
yeah,
that little yellow house over there. All the way
the
down.
abandoned house.
Yes. Any other public? All right, new business. First reading of ordinance 288 with the zoning for the medical marijuana, which I think we pretty much
Okay.
talked through. So there's the first reading of that. The second reading, same thing, the policies and the procedures for the licensing. Do we want to talk more about? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even look up for that.
Zach had it, 413 drinking, just for the record, we were wondering what's the renewal for the.
That's what we're gonna talk about.
We will
right
do
now.
that, that's 289.
That's what I'm just getting to.
I know we talked about a lot in conjunction.
Yes,
you know.
all right. So, 289, let's discuss the license price tag that we would like to. Yeah, the license we would like to discuss the price tag and renewal fee, the half price reimbursement. Okay, by the way, I understand this, right now, the way this is written, it's an application fee of $5,000. The city will reimburse $2,500 for applicants who fail to obtain a registration certificate. I think we kind of discussed that we would kind of all like the 25. Or do we want to discuss that a little bit more?
I think 25,000 is perfectly adequate.
25.
And I wanna say 10, I think 10K is.
Carrie says 10K. We're not voting on anything, we're just having a discussion because it's first reading. So we'll just, yes, go ahead.
One thing, Tracy, you need to make sure, whatever form the first reading is in,
Yeah,
if there's a substantial change between the first and second readings, which I think
there will be,
my
it sounds like,
suggestion
yeah.
would be,
Yep,
then you're gonna have to treat the second reading as a repeat of the first reading and
right,
another 5 days pass. So
yep, okay,
I think you wanna have the discussion as to where you wanna land on these licensing fees,
okay,
include in the first reading.
sure,
Yeah.
you got it, okay. So Carrie says 10, Travis says 25K, and
I agree with 25K.
Aaron says 25K. I don't get a vote, so what do you think, Brendan?
All good points by everybody. I definitely align with the 25,000.
Good, Brendan.
For some reason, 20 sounded good as well. I don't really have a reason for that. We were originally talking, well, we were just talking about whether towns were, it's like, oh, 20 sounds good, but, one thing I do want to comment on is, so that's, we're talking about the application fee of 25,000, and then we would reimburse half, which makes 5.
Right,
What about the renewal?
I was gonna get to that next.
Okay.
Because right now, the renewal fee says 5,000, and the city will reimburse 2,500 for applicants who fail to obtain a renewal of their registration certificate
So it's the
from
same
the
thing.
department. So it's kind of the same thing. Now, we can mirror it, or we can change the amendments, my understanding, right, Tom?
Yeah.
Yes, as I will just tell you, as the other cities I've talked about, when I was concerned with the last renewal fees at this level.
Right.
They thought they, as long as you're getting a decent and, good sized initial application fee, that's gonna lead to having more serious and
Just
professionally operating businesses.
Just thinking out loud here, though, when we're talking about going with more of a, I don't know if established is a very appropriate word, but staying away from the mom and pop, is that the way to put it as well? I feel like if your idea of charging $25,000 to get in more of an established business, then you could also say the same about the renewal fee.
Yes.
So,
Um,
do you
So I
want
don't
to
know
mirror
why-
the, I mean,
I'm just, again, thinking out loud here. We're talking
Based
about
on-
to get them in.
Right.
Is that where your
Established,
point comes up?
What's that?
Is that where your 20 is, where you want to land?
Well, no, I guess not necessarily, but just thinking out loud, if you're gonna try to get a
City-
one-time fee of 20, if you're wanting a more. What is the word? Why not? Professional is the word.
yeah, the more professional continue on.
Like a successful, better run.
Better run. Well,
If you're looking at that, then the renewal fee almost seems more pertinent than the initial fee. I feel like you could probably upfront, today's economy, you could probably find a way to front 25 grand and then limp along at 5,000. I feel like the renewal fee almost feels.
Obligated?
Well, if we take the notes to what Sioux Falls did, is they're charging 100 for their initial, and then they're making them do a 2-year renewal at 50, so it's half. This
But
only
you're-
takes 1 year,
years.
and
But
that
what
renewal is
he's-
every 2 years though, so,
But what he's saying, are you thinking you would be different, you'd be backwards 100%, or, 100 and then 150?
no, he's just saying, he thinks the
Well,
renewal should be more than 5,000.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not recommending a penny right now on this renewal. I'm thinking out loud on why does it make sense to say 25 grand up front and then, only 5 on the renewal? I
Right,
have no idea what my recommendation is on the 5 grand. Let's make that clear. There's a lot of money, so I don't know. I'm just saying, why does 25 up front make sense to everybody and it's 5? I see random in the back.
I see 5,000 on the renewal is not online or too cheap or too expensive. I don't want to be penalized as a business if I was a business owner. By having to pay the same renewal, I feel that if I was doing business and helping the community, I should be able to not have to pay the same entries every single year.
We're still discussing, so
Okay.
until we're done in the public.
Okay, you'll have public comment.
Yeah, but I'd just like to reiterate, the council discusses, it's in the packet, if you want to speak, you have to come up to the podium and wait to be called on. It is not an open discussion for everybody just to talk when they want. So just make sure that if you do want to talk, just come up to the podium and you will be called on eventually. Okay.
Okay, so based on what Sioux Falls did, 100,000, 2 years, they knocked it in half, okay? So for a 2-year renewal, it's 50. So to me, that tells me there, if it was a 1-year renewal, that would be where we're at the 25 days. Does that make sense? Okay, so if their renewal after 1 year would be what we're looking at for the first time license of 25K. Okay, that's the way Sioux Falls is doing it. They're much bigger than we are. I'm just throwing numbers out there. Again, I don't get a vote. So, but on the same aspect of that, you know, if you talk about, okay, half of that is 12.5. 12.5 could be your renewal. And then half of that comes back if you don't get your renewal. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there based on what Sioux Falls.
I think Sioux Falls is a bad comparison though.
Agreed,
So,
I'm just letting you know that that's kind of the thought process there.
what do we do with our liquor license?
What did Hartford District do for their?
They also.
They didn't, Hartford and Beresford didn't change their renewals, did they? So they left it at 5, right, Tom?
That's correct, because their discussion was the initial application can involve a lot more time and scrutiny by the city staff as they review the licenses and make sure that all the items and teach before it goes to the state, so.
So what if we,
The year-to-year compliance is gonna be more on the state level because, again, the state's gonna be the one controlling product in, product out. Compliance with, at this point, with medical cards, you know, people have the proper medical cards. All of that's gonna have to be controlled at the state level. That's not the city's function in this. The cities would be if they would have it operate outside of the hours, violate ordinance, allow the consumption on their facility. All of those can result in a suspension or revocation of license.
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying. So basically, the initial license, the reason we would make it more is because it is so time consuming to get that ready to go to state level. The renewal is necessarily just what it states. It's not, they don't have to go through all those things again, so it's just purely money in the bank to renew the license.
so what if we meet in the middle? You guys said 25K for initial, what if we go 10K for years after? Just based on it, because it does say in here, the license holder must continue to meet the license requirements and everything like that. It's not like they got their license and that's it. They don't have to worry anymore. They can let their place go to shambles, whatever. They still have to comply with state laws and the Department of
Right.
Health.
So you want to leave then their renewal at 5,000? Is that what you're saying?
10.
You want to do
Renewal at 10 and initial at 25.
Just tell me that.
That's my thoughts. I thought 10 was a good number starting with the first year going forward. But maybe, you know, maybe that first year is 25, it's more for the city to do, and then 10 after that.
So basically, it would be 10 to renew the first year. If they don't get to renew because of whatever issues they had, then we give them back half that, which is 5.
Because I think that Beresford may have done that too, I just can't recall exactly.
Okay.
And then that's, like, the renewal has to be submitted 30 days in advance, so
I mean,
if they
yeah,
go
there's lots
past
of
their,
room.
if they go past their date, then it's back to 25 days.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's
So,
my thoughts.
so we're thinking 25K for the initial application fee, 10 we will reimburse if they fail to obtain. Then a renewal of 10, and the city will reimburse 5 if they fail after 1 year.
Did you say 25, can't reimburse some initial trade?
Or I'm sorry, 12.5, my bad, I read it
Yeah,
wrong.
I just want to make sure. That's what I-
Half of the 25, which is 12.5, excuse me. And then the renewal fee at 10, and the city will reimburse, which is half, thousand.
And then we also probably need no more than one,
That's what they
Cannabis.
recommend, that's what they recommended was one license to
right,
start
on
with.
the other ordinance, so this ordinance has it also.
Yeah, it's the same.
Is it the
Yeah.
same?
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I thought this was a different one.
It's a different ordinance with that, yeah,
Same package.
okay.
Got it.
Are we all, how do you,
Five. Personally, I would still stick with 5,000. This is my opinion. From
Okay, so she
a business standpoint, no.
no, I'm
For the renewal of 5K?
5K for the renewal and 2,500, okay. Brendan, what do you think then? I'm doing a general consensus like we did last time, what do you think? Are you liking the 10K idea or the 5K idea?
I completely understand and agree with what Travis is saying as a business owner. I mean, the cost of operation and deterrent and whatever and whatnot, you know, takes out of the bottom line. But at the same token, I'm on the fence because when I spent some time up in Fargo and they were dealing with medical marijuana up there going around, the amount of money these guys are making is astronomical. And that's my hang up. I want to be fair and completely across the board. But at the same token, I mean, these groups, this isn't just like selling a gas station and hoping, you know, gas prices are pulled out, you know, so you can make a profit. These guys make substantial money. Now, I don't want to go through and just hammer them and cut into their profits. So a lot of me agrees that 10 is probably a fair number because it's not gonna substantially kill them, you know, the business as a small business or as a business owner. You know what I'm saying? And then I revert back to, if we're setting a precedence, you know, for our one license to get an established business out of Sioux Falls to come up here, you know, a $10,000 renewal amongst 6 stores or whatever their number is really not much. You know, it's not, honestly, it'd be a dent, not even a dent in their bottom line. You know, if it was an auto garage, then I would be 100% like, okay, this is
a bit much.
yeah, you know, but the amount of profit towards, you know, work towards income, all that about what goes all into it. 10 grand seems fair.
And then also an extra cost in the city too, that comes with, maybe there's some extra cost with Bill having to do ordinances or whatever it might be.
And maybe the state would have to look into some of those things to make sure that we know what's going on. I don't know. I think that's the unknown.
Right, it's the unknown. We can always go lower. If we need to down the road, we're like, okay, this is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, is that hard to do if we decide that 10,000, like say after 1 year renewal, year 2 comes around, we decide 10,000 is too much, is that?
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, and that's just changing an ordinance, right, Tom?
Right. The numbers alone are, the number of licenses is more critical.
Okay,
Your everything will go down,
right,
which you only got one invoice, that doesn't matter.
right, okay. So basically,
25.
the 25 to 10, okay.
I'm not opposed to it either.
Okay, no, that's why we're discussing. Okay, so we're going to change this to say, for the original application fee, 25K, the city will reimburse 12,500. And then for the renewal, it will be 10,000 for the renewal, and the city will reimburse 5,000 if they fail to obtain the renewal. Okay, all right. Moving on, okay. That's that.
You want to know that with those insertions, that this would be a first reading then?
Yes, that's a first reading with it, yep, yep, first reading, okay? All right, first reading of ordinance 290, the water rates. All right, basically, the following rates hereby established for each consumer water, taking water from the municipal water system. Well, it should $8.31 per 1,000 gallons of water usage per month, subject to monthly minimum charge of $24.95 if less than 3,000 gallons is used in the month. Any ordinance in conflict with this ordinance is repealed. The ordinance shall be full force effective November 1st. So we're basically, we're raising it to 3% that is, right? Right, yes.
Basically, the cost of it.
The cost of inflation that they're putting on us. Okay? Understand that one?
Yep.
All right, that was first reading. First reading of ordinance 291, the budget. I will let you discuss that, Michelle, since it is your budget.
So, everybody has a copy of what we're proposing, and just, more, does anyone have any questions, want clarification?
I did send a message, and I don't know if you all read it, the fire department, the request was, originally was for 40, and then we had some, Mr. Coogan came in and said that they didn't meet by that much. So what we did here is we moved it from 16 to 20. And we'll plan on putting in such a percentage next year and just keep bumping it up to get up to where it should be. Like it was, instead of doing the full gambit up to 40 like Garrett's and West. And I think that's acceptable to, unless you guys have, unless you want to talk through that and change that.
Mike, is happy with that?
Are you okay? Please.
Michael, first of all, yes, having not had a discussion earlier amongst ourselves, totally appreciate the thought and effort on the 40,000 by all means. Just felt that this time maybe that we need to get our ducks in a row as well as a group of the fire department. Obviously, we have projects that are needed and things like that, so willing to work with you guys as well. And look at some other items, just kind of to get clear, everybody else's ears. They're fairly new. Yeah, just want to build up to that level.
And if they need the extra funds for certain projects and whatnot, they can come to us for above and beyond extra pieces as well. And then we can have that discussion. Is that
What about the life?
Like that.
Yes.
the life hack? I think they were going to do,
Yeah, we've got some grant opportunities.
Yeah.
To do some
to
funding
do
with
the
that.
funding of that. And if they need a little bit to help finish that, they can certainly come back to us and ask that.
So appreciate that,
Thank you.
And then, so, conversation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
What's on unprotected inspections?
Bill, do you want to tell us what that is?
That's me. That's basically paying my salary, my inspections, code enforcement, some of the other materials that we're gonna be needing, or handouts, printings, whatnot else, it's all in that, this, in my time, since you take 24 hours a week, multiply it, and that's what it comes up to.
Perfect.
And
I thought maybe that was it, and I was like, protected was what made me go, what is that? We have security?
And I can give you a little more here, Carrie. It's got like travel, if she goes to any conferences or anything like that.
So kind of
His membership.
encompasses all of it, I mean, like the.
Yes, insurance, and it is, a part of wages for P and C also. So we-
Oh, okay.
That was the what?
You're raising that one.
A couple of dollars?
Sorry, Bill.
Sorry, interest.
Cut my budget.
Anybody else want to discuss what's going on with the budget questions we have? Go ahead.
I'm just wondering if you guys are willing to share with the public, not tonight, because you're probably not prepared for that, but the breakdown of what all of these line items are and what they include, because like, for example, that was a really good question about protective inspection. It actually included 4 different items that came to that bucket. So would it be a reasonable request to find out what's included in all of these different buckets? So that way we understand what it goes up to for this ordinance. That's my request.
This is just first reading, so I do know that much. We're still adjusting and then, okay, And what's yours?
So I guess judging by this, it looks like we're still sticking roughly 7 to 9% in savings
Yeah.
every year. So, historically, when I was on council, it was somewhere between 7 to 9%. We would put it with the Gulf Capital Outlay Fund, kind of like a savings account for the rainy day fund if everything went to crap. And we needed to fix something. So, I mean, looking at the numbers, I mean, I understand what Deb is saying, you know, I mean, everything's moved around a little bit compared to previous years. And we're still sticking money into our quote unquote savings account. I mean, that's fantastic.
And it's also, Ryan, the economic development, that his salary is in here as well.
Separated to the different
To-
areas.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
different areas that it needs to be. Okay. Any other questions? That's just the first reading, so, all right. Consideration of resolution 2021-9 fees. Mr. Bell.
Okay. When we started going through some of this stuff, we noticed in the ordinances, and there was some of the things, the ordinances referred back to the resolution to fees and fines. But when you look at the fees and fine schedule, 2016 version, they weren't listed in here for value. So how do you find somebody or penalize somebody if there's nothing here for a number? So then we started going through some of the other stuff. And I worked with Miles and Brad and those guys for part of the deals for even for mowing yards, grasses and cleanup. Try to get some more realistic numbers, try to get some stuff in. Also went into here and started realizing that for a long time, when you get into the planning and zoning side of this a little bit, that there were charges on the books that weren't getting paid either.
That we were charging.
Great.
So I got through and made sure that we're getting that, we're getting it on all the application forms, and know that there's a fee involved in it. Replanning requests was another one that was on the books, but was never getting to it. But one other thing that we were going through, and I've dealt with this in, with the city of Crooks. When you do a plan review for commercial businesses or like a school or whatnot else, yeah, I can't do all that, because I mean, a lot of that's above my pay grade, let's put it that way. So I refer that out. And what those guys charge is 25% whatever the permit valuation is. So I mean, we got a building comes in, the permit cost is $20,000. They take 25% or $5,000 to review the plans, submit the reports, do all that stuff into it. And, you know, if you spend the money on someplace else or what that else, it gets rather expensive. So I mean, I know some contacts, people who do it, but again, this is for the city to eat that cost. The same way when we do plat reviews. If you get a small little plat, like Aaron's plat, what else, we gotta send that up through the engineers. City engineer looks at it, he's gonna send the city of Zell. Simple one's probably $150. All right, do a complex trip, 350. City's been eating that.
We didn't even all of these, haven't we?
So,
Variance requests, zoning requests,
Yep.
conditional use requests.
so we've now put them into the resolution, start collecting these. Okay? Then going through the ordinances, parking ban, you know, we had $25. Also, I added events into it. Simple deals, we have a tournament or something like that, people are parked legally, they gotta be moved. We gotta, you know, way of getting you ticketed and saying, go into it. We up the unauthorized dumping at the dump. Stop work orders, there's always been one on the books, it's not been pushed at it. Performing work without a building permit. Standard was in the books for $100 for all. Okay, I can see that for a roofing permit or siding permit. When you start talking about a big house or another building or structure, Crooks is 1.5 times for every permit is. That's a little steep in my opinion. So I'm sitting there saying, okay, whatever the permit cost would be, 1.25 times. So I mean, the city gets something kickback in it, so they're gonna pay their normal permit fee plus 25%.
Okay.
Okay? Reinspection fees, we charge at $70 snap hours, one which I can get calls for once in a while. We'll make it up to $90. Okay, where we ran into some of the other problems was animal impound fees, failure to license, and animal control. There's 3 sections in the ordinances dealing with animal fines. And there's a lot of misconception of what was which and what was there. Okay, animal control, we can have a fine for failure to license or impound fees, and whatnot else. Animal control can also fine. So there's a double set of fines for that. But now it's all spelled out what it can be and how much it is. It is into what our ordinances read, so it's identical to the ordinance.
Does that fall under double jeopardy?
No, because if you call animal control, we pay them a service fee back out, so they're entitled to get it. We also added into the new water or sewer dumpster rates into it. Raise those up, all but the senior rate. Because I understand that charging more, we now have to put it out for bids. But they're already notified the city, they're gonna be charging at least $5 or more.
Yeah, for 2022, I believe that's something.
So
we have to
we put that into the fees resolution, so it's there. You know, if that doesn't happen until first of the year or whatever else, you're gonna gain a little there.
And we raised everything but the senior citizen rate, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's stayed correct.
Okay, the other one that's gonna be probably the one you want to discuss the most is the sewer and water tap fees. Okay. What the city's been collecting is $250 for tapping for the water meter. And then you've been collecting, I think it's total $750, $300 for tapping into the sewer, and $200 or something into the water side of it. Well, your water meter's cost you basically 300, what do you say, about 350, and plus your horn, it's another 130, so you're about $500. And you're only charging 250. Okay, you gotta pay for your infrastructure. Future use, future down the line, whatnot else, there's no other way to really justify it. Checked around with some of the other cities. Crooks is at $1,250 per water per sewer for their hookups. Hartford's pretty close to that, they're right around 1,000. So I mean, other cities are getting up there because they know that's the way of helping pay future down the line. And it can be easily added on to the building permits at the time the building permits goes, that's the way we've been doing it since we started the new system. Because it's added on to the building permit, paid its time of building permit.
What is it currently? Could you say? 750 is what you said?
$750 for
For both?
all, the water meter, the water hookup, and the sewer hookup.
Not currently.
Yeah, all under one price.
And you're saying ask for more, so towards future sewer replacement, or I don't even know what.
Yeah, water, sewer,
Maintenance,
anything,
maintenance,
maintenance, repairs, anything like that.
Okay. And that's when somebody's building, pretty much. right?
Yeah.
It's a one-time, right?
In mowing and cleaning up, we went to 125 plus it's 1 man per hour minimum. You know, so we've got those there. The other thing that we did is cleanups. Talked with Miles and the other Brad. We cost us $64 a ton when you haul to the dump. And so you ought to get that plus a surcharge. So everything's pretty much been researched and dug through. And I don't see any real problems with it. Copies, we raised up to 75 cents for the first copy, and that includes e-copies. And 50 cents for every copy thereafter. Any questions?
Questions on any of these? Do we want to discuss any of these?
Just the zoning fees, I just want to point out there that Bill did talk to me about that. Where we came up with that number, it's not just an arbitrary number. Each person for on planning and zoning, it's $13.50 per meeting. So we're gonna be 5 of us, that's where we put that in there to cover the cost. That way we're not having all these extra meetings and just billing the city for all of that. So that was the logic behind it. So, yeah, I just want to let that, previously it wasn't covering that, so we were, again, taxpayers were paying for someone else's to add property to yours, you know, I mean. Let me tell you, I use it the first phone call of the month. I promise.
All right, any other discussion about fees, since it's the first reading?
Yes,
Perfect. Is this a first reading or is it a resolution? Are you-
it is a first reading of a resolution.
This is. Oh, I need to make a motion.
Oh, I didn't realize it was, okay. Consider a resolution.
Oh, so I need a first and a second.
And that's, we just do that once.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So I have several questions for people that asked me to get clarification on the planning fee schedule. First of all, I think Bill should be recognized for the amount of work it took for him to go through that, because that is no easy task going through these ordinances. So thank you for taking the time to do that. That was a really big deal. And I think it's really great that you guys are articulating the process so people understand. So I have a couple questions. Is there gonna be a format of detailed information, like put in layman's terms, so that way citizens understand what all of these things mean? Because when you look at it, you know, Bill read the ordinances, so he knows, but other people may not understand what this stuff means. And so I'm just wondering, would you be willing to consider, or please consider, either putting these descriptions with more layman's terms so people understand what it is, or at least refer to the ordinance that was referred to when deciding the fee schedule, so people can at least go back to the ordinance and look at it to get clarification. So that's a question or suggestion one, I guess. Also, I'm wondering from a city hall standpoint, what is the process? Because, you know, I understand some of these have been on the books since like 2013, since 2009, it's not enforced. So I'm just wondering, have you guys, as a council, decided, or city hall have decided how these fees and fines are going to be enforced? Specifically, what's the mechanism that triggers a fine or a fee? Is it Bill driving around town? Is it a neighbor calling in? You know, or is it, what is the mechanism that causes this? And will it be documented? Will it be tracked? Will it be publicly accessible? Because what I'm seeing and what I've seen recently is people are calling in anonymously, and it's pitting neighbors against neighbors. And I am aware of other cities that actually document their grievance process, if you will, where you track the phone call, you get who, you know, filed the grievance, and then you track, you know, the warning, the first request, the second request, and any revenue that's collected from the city for those efforts. So I'm just wondering, if you're going to do this as of today, if you vote on it to approve it, are there systems in place to track it so we know what's going on? Just the second thing to consider. The third thing is, I guess I went into the entire piece of the process. So everywhere from where did the complaint come from, and what happened with it, and how was it resolved? How is that going to be tracked? And how is it going to be publicly accessible? Because if you are collecting fees and it is, you know, revenue to the state, then taxpayers should be able to see what that is, where it came from, and how it happened. And more importantly, 6 months from now, as a council, you might see that there's repeat offenders. There's a grumpy person in the city that just keeps calling and complaining about everybody, and you can actually resolve that issue maybe. Or, you know, is there certain people that continue to get fines and fees and other people never get fines and fees? Because if you're tracking this, you can also show the city as a whole that this is an unbiased process. Because there is a perception in the city that fees and structures are biased. Some people get them, some people don't. I just got a letter in the last meeting and saying, first of all, I'm not sure why I got it at the city council, but that's another question. But I got a letter saying that my weeds were too high, which is fine, they were. I'm under construction, doing landscaping, but my next door neighbor, who's adjoined directly to me, also weeds were as high. They never got a letter. I can drive from City Hall to my house and see 7 other properties that weeds are equally high, if not higher. And I haven't even seen those results yet today. So I do think it's important, if you're going to do this, that you consider at least a means to track it and to show citizens that it's unbiased and unfettered and trackable. So that's another suggestion.
3 minutes is up.
Yeah, your 3 minutes is up.
Perfect.
I'm done.
Thanks.
All right, consideration of resolution 2109, the fees. Do we want to accept it, table it, motion to approve? Do I have a second? Brendan Tiedemann, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go, and it's approved. Consideration of condemnation of a property, 110 Warfield, Mr. Bill.
Okay. Property has been foreclosed for foreclosure. It's been sitting vacant since 19. No one's been in that property. I finally got a chance to go in and inspect it. And then inspect it close up. And it is not repairable in my mind. It's got vast devastation in it. There's foundation problems, sill problems. To get it out, rebuild it, it's gonna cost you more money than the house. Been talking with the companies that are hopefully in charge of it. And, of course, they want to try to sell it, move it, and as fast as they can, because, if they can find it, somebody to go in and fix it, it's out there here, and we're sitting there again 3 years or 2 years down the line, doing the same thing again. So I make a recommendation that we condemn it. I will give them legal notice, 30 days to reply. They have a right to appeal that. But the bank has been told, given to me in a way, of course, that they're willing to demolish.
So the cost of demolishing, the cost of all this would go up back onto the bank, and then the bank would sell the property.
Goes to the property. So if they refuse to demolish or whatever else, we go get a court order and it's demolished. And then any costs that we incur will go onto that taxes of that property. Yeah, we pay for it to be sold. The other possibility is that they owe us about $1,500 in back utilities and mowing services on it. And you just say, for $1,500, it's yours, we do it. If that's the case, city either hire somebody to come in and demo it all the way. We rehab a lot. There's numerous ways of putting new housing on it that would give us a chance to get a better tax revenue coming off the property, because it would be worth a lot more.
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there. I have a question for Tom on that. If that happens, and they give us the 15, they give us the house for the $1,500 or whatever. Where was I going with this? Do we have to do another ordinance or another consideration for us to demo it? Or is that just an automatic thing because we did a condemnation?
You can just go ahead and do that.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure that I was thinking correctly. Because if we approve this tonight, then we're good to go with whatever happens either way. Okay, that's what I want to make sure. Okay, thank you.
Bill, I talked for a while about this afternoon, I just told him I'm most comfortable if they don't agree, that we get a court order to force demolition. So we have that insurance policy for that city.
Sure.
So then we can, at that point, so you have, if we approve this today, then they have 30 days to pretty much fight it, right?
Or fix
No.
it, or do whatever they
There's
can.
really nothing for you to approve, this bill can order as the building official.
Oh, okay, so then,
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
I
just
need
said
a-
I want your graces to do it.
so we don't need a first and second for the consideration of condemnation, or we do?
No.
No?
That's why the appeal board is they appeal it, so this is Bill's decision. I think what he's saying is gonna involve some expenditure potentially.
Okay.
I just want your blessing to go ahead and
So he's just telling us about it. That's
So
what
yes, I think it's more information, but you don't wanna have because
Okay.
again, you're the appeal body.
Right, okay.
so I guess my question is, once you condemn it, they have a period of time to then demolish, correct?
Due process.
Okay, all right.
That's the process. They have right to appeal and right to, have a hearing and the whole ball wax, they can drag it out if they want. But Tom and I are pretty much in agreement. We'll just give them 30 days, we'll go for a court order, cut it off right at the knees.
Right, thanks for letting us know. Okay, consideration for street closure permit. Do you need a first and a second on that? Oh, Valley View. Is that on here? Is that? No, I know, but do we have, yeah.
Address.
Yeah, they want, it's consideration of street closure permit. They want to close from basically Sioux Falls, which is what, one? Yeah, 5:15 to 5:16 on Valley View. From 2 to 11 p.m.
Basically
Saturday.
in front of courthouse.
Basically in front of 4 houses on Valley View
And
on
all
Saturday.
4 of them
And all
property
4
owners are in agreement.
Yes, they are.
Oh, yeah.
So if we approve it, table it, we need a first and a second. What do you guys want to do?
And just so we know, at the end of the intersection of Fourth Street and Bulldog, Valley View,
Fifth Street.
Fifth Street, there's no planned closure for that intersection, so there's a way to egress out of that development for.
Yeah, in turn.
Yep.
Back out.
Okay.
Yep. It's just literally between 4.
Just want to make sure that
But if somebody is going to try to get to Meadow or anything else, they will not be able to, they will have to turn around. So that is something to consider on our end, whether it will upset other people too.
Yes.
Right, it's not that far, but.
From 16 just read the history.
You really have to go to the bathroom, you never know.
All right, I do need a first and a second if we approve it, table it or decline it.
I make a motion to approve it.
Aaron is the first. Nope, it's not his property. Second is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There we go. Old business. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
I think Bud would like to address the council. He had called an afternoon.
You no longer want to?
Huh?
You do not want to address the council?
Well, for $140 with the kind of money you people are talking about, you know, I paid $140 deposit on my water bill.
Okay.
And I asked for a copy of the ordinance, and they should have had a copy of them for each one of you tonight. But it says that the deposit's 140, and it goes on down to the bottom and says if the utility user was a prior resident and utility user in the city and moved back into the city, and if the person was in good standing, the city council may, but not required to, collect this deposit.
Okay.
Now, when you talk about water, I'm sure I have a water bill in the city of Walvick longer than anybody living here. The next closest one is Dorothy City. Their house was built about 2 years after mine. I had a service down on Second Street from 1952 to 1961. And the city didn't have a water main down Second Street. So I had the expense of running just about 300 feet of copper service to that house. And the city wouldn't pay for it, but I paid for it and I paid my water bill ever since. When I moved out of that house in 61, I moved to the next house east of there on Viking Avenue and paid the water bill there until 78. Then in 1963, I started the trailer court down here, and I started paying a monthly bill. One of the was in charge of it with the city. And I paid per how many mobile homes were in there. She got a report from me. At that time, the trailer court was just going wild because they were working on the interstate. And I paid bills there ever since '63. Now I don't have my old income tax records, but I did have some newer ones. In 2010, I paid the Baltic City $17,546 for water that year. The next year, in 11, I paid them $20,710. The next year, I paid them $18,051. The next year, I paid them $19,912. In 2014, I paid $23,476. And in 2015, I paid $19,198.
Okay, I'm gonna
Do
stop.
you realize?
No, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Do you realize
The
how much
information-
money you
yeah.
got
Right,
from me?
I'm not disagreeing with you.
And,
And the amount of information, wow.
there's no question,
No question that you.
you got the money all the time.
Yeah, okay,
And
so,
I would think that you could pass
Wait, you're
up getting $140.
well, we can certainly put that to the council. Do you wanna waive this 140?
I'm voting.
But he was so insistent at City Hall that I have already given the $140.
Okay,
But I think.
But remember, it is a deposit, you don't get it back. Every citizen, when they move, the city of Baltic does pay it. But knowing that you are a physical resident here does make a difference on that. So if you've actually lived in the city of Baltic and had a water bill personally, not for a business before, then yes, you do not have to pay that.
okay, so what will happen, Bud, is this will go on the agenda so we can actually make a motion on it next. We can't do it on a special meeting, we'll do it on next month's meeting, which is October, to approve it, and if that's what they choose to do.
It's just peanuts compared with the money
Yeah.
you people are handling. but-
Agree, yeah. But I totally get what you're saying.
And it also sounds like you've already been down to City Hall. and
Yes.
Talked to her. So yeah, we'll put it on the agenda.
We'll put it on the agenda next month and we'll.
Thanks
we
for
can do.
coming with the
Thank you,
information.
yes.
Maybe they haven't cashed that check yet.
I
I don't know, because it wasn't in my bank statement that I got today.
Well, if we haven't, we'll hold on to it until they make a decision next month. How, is that fair?
I just don't think it is right, you know?
We hear you.
I've done a lot of other things, for the city of
Yes, you
Baltimore
have.
over the years.
Agreed.
In fact, this last month down here in the trailer park.
All right, well, thank you, Bud. I appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, old business, consideration of quote for snow plow. Where'd that go? Miles. Sorry. It's old business, it's not on that.
It's over.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, I got it sitting here. Proceed, young man.
So the quote that she's talking about is the one that was brought, I believe it was a month ago, 2 months ago, Travis, you were the one that wanted to pay for it, and I was wanting to get to the budget and work through that, so it's the same thing. There was four items on the quote from John Deere, it was an AMI, a 4-in-1 snow pusher. Same thing, same. Just the one.
58.5,
No, just the snow pusher, is 22,000.
and that's all you want right
There were
now?
multiple items.
There's multiple items, I'm looking
multiple
at,
items,
that's what I'm
yep.
asking. So there's multiple
Just-
items that you want us to look
just
at,
the
and
top.
just the snowplow, which is the 22.
Yep, and that would be to replace, so that would be to replace the current two pieces of snow removal equipment for the paper. which
And those
is-
are the ones you're having to switch out each different route
Right.
to take. That's very
And then if this is approved, if you choose to approve this, then we can move forward with surplusing the two pieces that we do have to help offset the cost of the.
Did you just unplug yourself? Sorry, people, oh, that.
You got it, Dan?
So that's all it is, it's just the one
Okay, so, and since this is consideration of quotes,
Sorry about that. Hang on just a second until we get reconnected.
I'm just asking a question real quick. Tom, consideration of a quote, that means we need a first and a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's okay. Just wanna make sure everything is
It's
correct.
audio is still going, just not video.
Oh, okay, audio is still going, just not video. All right. So, discussion amongst the council,
I'm for it.
22K for the, and it says used.
Where does that fit?
It says used, but it says 2021.
Right, it was a typo, I called to verify that it'll be
It'll be brand new.
never been on these before.
I guess I've pushed snow over the years with a payloader. I had to chain blade stuff up, do whatever, jimmy rig, whatever, at the end of the day. Hands down, everybody in this town, without a doubt.
Does that fit into the budget?
We do not have a plow.
What would it be? He's
This is what we
asking
talked
for a
about
plow this
before.
year.
It's a, yeah, we do a supplemental appropriation. Any other?
Something,
Oh, go ahead, sorry. No, by all
something
means.
else to consider, I noticed the other day walking around with snow pusher that we do have, that there's not very many welds and braces on it that aren't broke right now. And so it is in dire need of some help before we go into another snow season.
Obviously, the gain to residents would be,
The quality of snow removal is gonna be way better. It's gonna make cleaning the streets a lot more efficient, we save time, give us effort, more time to put forth effort to other projects as well.
Well,
Save
it is,
time.
It is a fluid edge, so how it works, it's, I believe they're either 10-inch or 12-inch wide individual segments that float up and down on rubber isolator, so it's gonna follow the contours of the pavement better. It's gonna
It's gonna
save,
dig down better
right,
than what we
it's gonna
currently
save
have.
a lot on replacement cost for blades. If you're not having to push so hard on the high side to get it to cut ice on the other side.
maintenance wise for, as far as like this blade versus the ones we have currently on the road. The damage is gonna be a lot less to the road.
It's gonna be a lot more gentle on the pavement, yes, because like I said, with what we have now, even the small angle blade, because I believe that's 10 feet wide, and it's solid mounted, it doesn't pivot side to side at all. So if you've got a wheel track or a dip on this side, and you're trying to cut ice out of that coming to an intersection, you basically got to shave pavement off on the other side to be able to clear the ice out of the low spots.
And you can see that on the roads, I mean, even on metal, it's got, 4% grade to it from the center to the side.
Yeah.
So you can see where the top has been eaten off with the, the chips and everything, so.
And where
that's what save our roads.
And
And that helped newer people. The rock from the chip sealing, because I know I did have a citizen upset about the chip sealing in his yard.
The-
That's pulling off the roads or the
Right,
rock.
that should
from
help
the
with
chip
that too,
sealing.
right?
It's gonna help, it's not gonna eliminate them.
Okay.
There's
No,
no,
at least
there's no
help
way
some.
to eliminate that, I mean, unless you just don't cross it. It will help because it's gentler on the road surface, you're not having to apply so much force to do the job.
And does this do the new sidewalk in front of the school?
Too big.
This is too big. This is a bigger
This
piece.
is for the payload.
This is payload.
Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. Okay. Any other questions there?
what would we be selling?
We'd be selling, I believe it's either a 14-foot or a 16-foot, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's a fixed mount snow box. So like when you go to the mall and they plow snow at the mall, they use a big snow box. We have one of those, and then we have, I think it's a 10-foot, it's a 10-foot snow plow for the payloader. So it's essentially the same thing that's on the front of the orange truck, but it's got an attachment to put it on a payloader. So the same snow plow that comes through town from the highway department, it's the plow off of that with an attachment so we can put it on.
I was just trying to get an angle.
And so,
Half maybe,
yeah,
the snow box is actually the value,
yeah.
depending.
And that's one of the downsides to the blade that we have, it's only 10 feet wide, and that's straight across, so if you angle it, it's barely covering the tracks of the load. So we're wasting time, and we'll kind of make 4 passes down the street.
So right now, tonight, we're considering
Just
to
to
get a
22.
quote for a snow.
No,
We
this
have
is
the
a
quote.
quote.
We're approving the 22.
We're approving.
If you want to approve, table ordinance.
Yep, and it's just the one line item for that, well,
I don't want to say that. She's asking for approval. but
Lead time?
last time I talked, they were 2 to 3 months out, that was at the couple months ago, 2 months ago, I believe it was at the previous meeting, so we'd have to check on that. Estimate probably similar to that.
First of the year.
So it'll be close to the first of the year.
Or you probably have to do at least the first 2 snow.
I guess my opinion for it, like I said, I've used and pushed snow over the years. I know the benefit. It's,
Make things more efficient, obviously, eliminate costs down the road.
And the timing, it's gonna save you guys time if we get.
You can
something
cut
like
your
this
snow
versus-
flying time in half, that's money to make to
Maybe
essentially
so.
offset.
Cut it in half and help the
Save-
systems get it cleaner faster.
Right, we're gonna save money on maintenance, because instead of having to replace and maintain blades on 2 snow removal items, it's one item to change blade on to wear out. It's less parts to worry about having.
less use on the loader.
Right.
I make a motion to approve it.
Aaron Center makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sure. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. We approve the snow plow for 22. What? All right. It's just this 22.
Is this quote still good?
I believe so, yes.
It's good for us. I make a motion to go into executive.
And I need a second.
Second.
From Steven, all in favor,